Hello and welcome back, everybody, to The Other Mother. This episode I am going to be naming In the Beginning. So I'm going to be talking about when I first met my stepson, Riley, and came into my now husband's life, Cameron. I wanted to do 2 episodes in a week simply because my first was very, very short, which is totally fine, but I just wanted to introduce myself and let you know what this podcast was about. So coming into this second episode, I'd just love to start the conversation and get some communication out there with some people and see where we go from there. I really want to say that throughout The Other Mother, I will of course be talking about my relationship and experiences with Riley's mother. I want to put it out there that I am not here to be negative. I am not here to accuse or point fingers. This is all simply from my perspective. Absolutely none of this can be taken as, on the Bible, because we're only getting one side of the story, and I'm really fair in that. Specifically in this episode, The Other Mother in the Beginning, I'm going to talk about some things that Cameron and I experienced on our end when I first came into Riley's life, and I would like to say that recently, well, not too recently, it was a little while ago, Riley's mother has apologised to us for some of the immaturity and things that happened in the start of mine and Cameron's relationship, and we have cleared that up. We've cleared the air, we've shaken hands, and we've moved on. We're really trying to make that co-parenting happen and make it as fluid as possible for the sake of all of our sanity, but also Riley. He is our main person in this. He is the centre of all of this, and we need to treat him with respect and love. Okay, so I guess getting started with what I wanted to talk about today, I'm going to take you back a little over 4 years when I first came into Cameron and Riley's life. So I've mentioned before, Riley was about 2.5 years old, give or take. Cameron and Riley's mother had been separated for some time now, and Cam was living with his parents. He had been living on his own and found it more financially viable for him to live at home with his parents. We had those teething stages. So when I met Cameron and first met Riley, there was those really awkward times. And I'm sure we've all experienced it as step-parents. When you first meet them, you know nothing about this kid. You really want them to trust you and love you because you love their parent so much. And it can be a little overwhelming and a little bit intimidating. It's crazy how much a 2-year-old can really intimidate you. I mean, they're brutally honest anyway, and a lot of 2-year-olds, their behaviours are just whoa. But lucky for me, Riley was actually a pretty good 2-year-old, which made the introduction a little bit easier. So I guess when Cam and I settled down in our relationship and I pretty much lived at their place, I saw Riley a lot and I dove pretty much straight in. I really wanted to start making that bond with Riley. I knew that I loved Cameron. I knew we were probably going to be in it for the long run, especially me seeing Riley often as I did. You wouldn't be in that situation if you didn't want to continue on that relationship with the parent. So while Cam was living at his parents' place, I really didn't want to step on any toes. So Riley has such a beautiful relationship with Cam's parents, and mine, Cam's kids do also. It's really lovely to see. And I didn't want to come in and just make it weird. I don't know. I can't figure out the word for it. But I just didn't want to step on toes and pull anything away from anyone else. I was this new person here, coming into all of these people's lives, and you know what, I needed to make a darn good impression on all of these people. So yeah, I was finding my place, which is weird, like I wasn't, well, I was young, I was 25, but that's not necessarily young. Like, I had a career established and everything, and I felt like I was just sort of starting again and trying to go, who am I and what am I doing here and who am I in this person's life? So I really didn't want to come on too strong. I mentioned before I was going to talk about Riley's mum, and like I said, all of these things have been apologised for, and we've worked it all out. At the time when I first came into Cameron and Riley's lives, it was very difficult. I really felt like the other woman. It's a strange feeling. I mean, you're not the mother of this child. I was coming in off the back of Cam's separation or divorce, and yeah, it's this weird feeling, and you're like, am I doing something wrong here, or should I even be here? So a lot of what Cam experienced at the time, and what I understand, it was before I entered the scene anyway, was a lot of abuse through text message, begging Cam to pay to fix a car, or pay for petrol, pay for registration, call asking really silly questions that you could Google or ask someone else. And Cam had said to me that a couple of times she had said, you don't care about me anymore, you don't care about Riley anymore, all you care about is this new person, things like that. And at the time, oh my gosh, I was furious. I just saw how much it hurt Cam. I really didn't want to have anything to do with this person that was hurting someone that I loved with so much spite. It was very difficult, and you know what? They were young parents. They had Riley, I think, when they were 19 or so. Had a really quick wedding before Riley was born, and she was a young single mum. I think she would have been 21 or 22 at that time, and that's scary. And hindsight is 2020, and now I see that and I go, wow, that must have been so hard, and your feelings and emotions would be everywhere. But in that moment, wow, oh my goodness, just that shaking anger that you get where you just want to shake and cry. That's how I felt, and I didn't know what to do with that. I didn't know where to put it, and I wish I had been a little bit more open about these feelings with Cameron back then, but it was a really difficult situation, and you don't want to come across as the new weirdo girlfriend, I guess. With all of that, it got me in a really, really bad headspace about myself, more than other people. And I guess I should say that I do have anxiety. I'm getting treated with that, and I get help with that. But it does bring on those negative thoughts. And I was sitting there wondering, like, do I have to compete with someone? Am I going to have to spend this whole relationship competing with another woman? Am I going to have to compete for Riley to have any kind of bond for me? Am I going to have to compete for Cam's relationship and keep him on my side? Am I going to have to push for co-parenting and push for this, that, and the other? What is co-parenting going to look like? At that time, I had this really negative connotation of what Riley's mother was like, and I think in the beginning, a lot of co-parenting situations can be like that. But I was so worried about the communication, if it would happen, if I'd ever have a relationship with this woman, and how that would look, all these questions, and they would just flood and flood and flood and flood and flood, and it just builds up, doesn't it? It becomes this really big thing in your head, and you just can't let go of it. And like I said, I really wish I could have been a bit more open with Cameron about it at the time. But it was also that feeling of I couldn't give anything else to Cameron, as we got further into our relationship. And, it was serious anyway, but, things get more serious and you start thinking about marriage and having your own kids and things like that. Could I really give him anything? He already had a wife. he already had a kid, I was sort of, at the time, I sort of felt second best to everything. I definitely don't feel like that now. I can say, after 4 years, and we've been married for nearly 2, and with Riley, and we have 2 of our own kids, I'm very quite comfortable in our relationship, but I've only just become that way as well, and it's nothing that Cameron has done. It's just, again, feeling comfortable in this role that you have. It's different. It's really different, and this is why I wanted this podcast. It's not something that you experience like this all the time. People have their husband and then they have their kids, and it just flows naturally, and mine didn't start off with that flow. It was really, really hard. 6 months into our relationship, Cameron and I had moved in together, and of course that meant Riley coming in, and he stayed every weekend, and that changed a lot. I did find my bond with Riley getting a lot stronger, and I experienced more what it was like to co-parent and be a stepmom, and how you were going to contribute to this child's life. How do you discipline them? Do I leave the discipline up to Cameron? Do I step back? Do I speak up? How do I manage this situation? If Cam wanted to go to the shops and just leave Riley with me for maybe an hour, my husband loves doing the food shopping, thank gosh, because I hate it. But he would leave me with him, and I go, I know how to be with kids. I've been around kids and babies and, all ages, but this was so different. And if I did something that, not harmful in any way, but something that was different to what mum and dad does he think it's really strange? Is he going to push back from me? And then one day, Riley calls me mum, or mummy. And that was a shock. What do I do with this piece of information? Do I just let it slip? Do I let it slide? And Cam and I had the chat about it. What do we want him to call me? How do we manage that? What do we do? And we decided he was a bit too young to understand two mummies. And Riley's mum had a boyfriend not too far into the piece, and, 2 mums and 2 dads. That's so hard for him to understand. So I just went, no, let's let him call me Mel. Until he really understands these relationships and what's going on, let's let him call me Mel. And then we'll go from there. And if in a couple of years, when he understands a little more, if he wants to call me mummy, then let's see how we go. And for a little while, he called me Mel. And then I think it went to the mummy Mel. And now he calls me mummy. And I still feel a little bit funny about it. But I accept it, and now it's really hard because I have our 2.5-year-old and 4-month-old who obviously call me mum or mummy or mama, whatever they feel like at the time. They might call me other things in the future, probably, but that would be really hard. So we kind of had those chats and make sure he understands what's going on, and that's how we sort of manage that. But yeah, it was a big shock to the system, hey. Secretly loved it. But yeah, it was very cool. So I think I sort of want to leave tonight there. I don't want to make these podcasts too long. In the next episode, the reason why I want to cut it here is because I'll start to introduce when we started to have our family, and when we had Mason, who is our now 2.5-year-old, and how our family really changed and developed, and talk a bit more about the co-parenting and how that looked for us. And with any podcast, I am so happy for you to send messages or comment, share your experiences with me. If you don't like something that's happened in my past, that's fine. Honestly, go for your life. A lot of things have changed. We've really developed in our relationship, so Just be kind to me, please. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to you guys hearing this one, your thoughts, hearing if you've had similar experiences. I feel like mine really aren't that bad in comparison to what other people might be experiencing. But this is all about in the moment and how I felt in those times. All right, so I'm going to sign off now. I also am uploading these podcasts to YouTube. So my YouTube channel is The Other Mother. And if you don't love Podbean, or if you would prefer to listen to it on YouTube, it's going to be there for you as well. So I will do my next podcast next week. I will sort out which days are going to be best for me and upload them then. I have my Instagram still. Jump on the Other Mother Instagram and I will let you know when I'm uploading a podcast. All right, guys, thank you so much. Have a great night and I will speak to you soon.